NEDF welcomes you to the Prosperity Podcast, where inspiration meets innovation. I'm your host, Brian Davey, and we're delving into the heartbeat of economic prosperity in Northern Ontario. Join us as we bring you dynamic guests, sharing ideas, stories, and news that fuel the growth of Indigenous businesses. From success stories to cutting-edge strategies, we're your go-to source for cultivating prosperity in the heart of the North. Get ready to unlock the potential of Indigenous entrepreneurship. This is the Prosperity Podcast, because when we grow together, we all prosper. Let's get started. G'day, welcome. Once again, we have our weekly podcast. Today we're going to be talking with Michelle Elliot, and she's the CEO, president of Heart&Soul company. Welcome to our podcast today, Michelle.
Good morning, Bonjour.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about yourself, and we can get into the type of company you have and the business model and all that. But let's start with your background so the audience know who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Michelle Elliot. I am born and raised, still continue to live on traditional lands of Fort William First Nation. Super excited to raise my daughter. I am a nurse, first and foremost, I guess, as my primary job. I've been a nurse for 10 plus years. Love what I do. And then a little bit about our company. So Heart&Soul Co. we create candles, coconut soy wax candles with a crackling wooden wick, and distribute, or I guess you could say sell, a lot of candles to community members around the Robinson Superior area.
Awesome. And what made you get into this business? What were the aha moments that said, yes, I'd love to get into this business, and this is for me? What inspired you?
Boy, I don't know if I really, well, first of all, I never intended to sell candles, so I just created candles for myself. Wanted to have scents that I liked. Candle that was, just kind of toxic free, paraben free, scents that, like I said, that I like, that I can have all year round. But then I gifted them as Christmas gifts one year in a silly little vessel, and family and friends were like, why don't you sell these? And it just kind of started a little spark in my brain that, yeah, I probably can, but here we are selling candles.
So it turned into a business. So you realized you can actually make these things and sell them. Great. And how long have you been doing this now?
So officially, we started selling candles last year, technically on paper and record. But in terms of creating candles, I would say probably about 3 years in total by the time I've completed all the research and actually poured a candle and lit one.
Awesome. Yeah. So you started in your own place, your house, and you're still there, or you're looking to expand into some other place? Or? Yeah,
so we're still our third bedroom is our lovely candle studio. We're pretty much outgrown that space quite rapidly. So yeah, definitely a thought of expansion has been across our mind a lot in terms of like, what do we do and how do we take that next leap of faith and to meet the demand.
And how is the demand doing?
The demand is there, definitely. People love the product. I have done a lot of research in terms of the products that are in the vessel. But in terms of the interest, it is always increasing. It's amazing.
Really? And has Fort William always, I mean, I'm sure candles is a proven product. I mean, people love them. Mm-hmm. And you just sort of tapped into this and said, wow, I'm going to see if I can fill the need. And obviously you did. I'm trying to get to what made you think that, okay, this is a business? Is it just people convincing you that actually you could sell this product? And you convince yourself, yeah, okay, I'll answer that question and fill the need. Is that how that worked? Or?
Pretty much. Like, honestly, it was like, I never in the back of my mind thought this was going to generate a revenue. And then when we did start completing large fulfillment orders from multiple businesses, that's what really brought it to perspective that there is definitely revenue that could be generated from this. And also, one thing I always kept in the back of my mind is to have a product that is feasible for people to purchase, not having like just it not being super expensive where people want to steer away. I would like people to continue to use the product.
Which is the next question. What are the price points on your calendars and price range?
Our 8-ounce candles, we have 2 vessels. Our 8-ounce vessel is $20 and our 13-ounce vessel is $30. Both have a wooden wick. The smaller vessel just has a black aluminum lid, and our larger vessel has a wooden lid that's associated with it.
So there's different times out through the year where the demand is higher than other times of the year?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know what? It's surprising. I thought our recent spring launch, it was kind of really our first spring launch to put out there. And honestly, we sold out of everything we pretty much poured. Which was amazing. We just had a recent craft fair. But the demand definitely fall and winter is very high. Gifts, a lot of people like to burn candles into the colder months. It's kind of a little darker. The weather's not so nice. So we do see that winter and fall, there's a higher demand.
Right. Does this do a number on your heating? I don't know what's involved in producing candles. Is there like electricity consumption, a lot of it, compared to what you would normally have living as a family? Or,
no, not necessarily. No,
Okay.
Because I mean, we also are not pouring, I guess you could say, all day. So technically, maybe if I actually did get to that component, there probably maybe, but not necessarily because we use a electrical wax melter.
Right.
And it is not large by any means. So I mean, when it's on, maybe given like 4 hours at a time. So it's not anything substantial. I have not noticed it in our bills anyways.
Oh, that's great. So your materials then that you get to do the product that you have, is that ordered from somewhere? I'm sorry, I don't know a lot about where you get the products from, or the materials you need to produce candles or glassing. I'm assuming there's jars as well that you have to buy somewhere.
Yeah.
So is that all bought wholesale? And maybe you could just talk a bit about the materials and where they all come from.
Yeah, so everything now is purchased wholesale. I mean, initially our first vessels are silly. If I actually showed everybody what our candles look like initially, it's so funny. But now, yes, everything is purchased wholesale and always increasing the amount of purchasing every single time we put an order in. And it's amazing. I think I'm making a decision to increase our purchasing, and then we're utilizing it just as quick as we did our previous allotment. So it's amazing. So definitely like the wax, the glass vessels, the wooden wicks. Some of the products are purchased here in Canada. Some of our products are purchased within the US.
I see. So you pretty well have to, if it's coming from out of the country or other outside of the province, you probably have to anticipate what you're going to be running out of, and then order in advance to make sure that you always have materials to prepare the products that you're looking to create, right?
That is correct. So you're always taking inventory all the time. Like, so sometimes we get maybe like large corporate orders, and before we agree to taking on an order, I have to kind of basically balance, do we have enough wax? Have I ordered enough wax to sustain the creation of consistent candles that we pour for store, like we create store fulfillments for the craft fairs coming up. So you do have to stay on top of definitely knowing what you have and what anticipate maybe things that will come from some corporations.
Yeah. So at some point, I guess you're saying your orders are getting larger or they're increasing?
That is correct.
Is that fair to say? And so at some point, are you going to hire someone to help you, or you think you can handle the orders that are coming on up to this point? What's the plans there?
Yeah, so future plans, that is our kind of what we're balancing, our next leap of faith in terms of how we can meet those demands. So at this current moment in time, hiring somebody is not on the radar at this moment, but potentially, who knows, even within our household, changing pathways to potentially what does that look like and how do we do that internally in our own home.
Yeah. At some point, though, are you looking to replace your job completely where you no longer rely on that and you're just relying on your business? Is there, how do you think through, what's the thought process when you go through that?
My job, no. It's so hard. This is where I become torn because I love what I do.
Which is nursing.
Yes, in my professional career. So when I have something that sparks from a passion and I also have a Monday to Friday passion that fulfills my soul, it's really hard. I become really torn on what are the next steps? Do you hire somebody? Do you, rent a space and hire someone and start a larger production and balance are the demands there for that level of next steps. So we're not there yet in terms of making that decision, but it's definitely been a big conversation in our household.
Yeah. Well, I would think, though, that you've proven to other people, other aspiring entrepreneurs, that it's very possible to keep your job what you love. You went to school for it and built a career out of it. And then at the same time, for lack of a better word, a side hustle or a side business that supports your overall family income. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's great that people are able to do that. And it just shows that, you can do both. And if you want to expand sometime in the future, that's possibilities always there, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, weekends are a blessing. So weekends are obviously busy. Like you said, the side hustle, that's what I tell people, this is my side hustle. It sounds so silly, but honestly, weekends, we're quite busy on weekends. That's probably when we get the most done in terms of just kind of getting a really good picture of our inventory, what we need to still do, tackling some tasks, if I have to pick up some shipments, things like that. So weekends are definitely busy in our household.
Yeah. So what are some of the challenges that you ran into that you had to think through and try and resolve and come up with answers fairly quickly? And I'm sure in any business there's always a few things that come up because that's all part of growing, right, is learning off those failures. But maybe you hadn't had any yet. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you've been lucky up to this point.
We did have a challenge. We did have an order that was delayed. Our shipment was delayed we took on a risk. We fulfilled an order in a short time frame that obviously I agreed upon. And then there was delays on top of that.
The shipping or the creation?
The shipping.
Oh, okay.
So definitely that was something I don't know if I'll ever put myself into ever again, is having a really tight turnaround time frame for a large order, because when there are things that are out of my control, like shipping or not having the proper inventory, I wouldn't say proper inventory, I would say when things are out of your control and things consistently happen, it's winter time, there's weather associated, shipments sometimes get lost, unfortunately. It's definitely a stressful factor.
Yeah. So how did the buyer feel about this delay?
They actually weren't. We fulfilled the order on time. So these are things behind the scenes that a lot of people are not aware of that occur, that I'm able to mitigate and not, show people or explain, these are things that may have happened. But yeah, still, we pulled through. We got everything. But when I look back, I'm like, I don't know if I can set myself up for such a tight time frame and have, maybe increased challenges associated with that.
So when you were making your decision on that time frame, saying, yeah, I can do it, what led you to that? I mean, there must have been something that said, you must have calculated something in your brain that said, this is very possible to do, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to say yes. And so you did say yes. And so is there a process that you go through when you're trying to fulfill an order? Is there a checklist or a are something that you think about before you actually agree to an order?
Yeah, so most times we have all the inventory in. Like I would say 99.9% of the time the inventory is there to create and fulfill an order as per request. This request came in at Christmas time, so this is obviously a learning lesson in terms of the capacity to agree to orders is where I will have boundaries. Yes, obviously I want to fulfill an order, especially if they're gifts, especially if they're going to community. Those are things that really capture my heart, and I want to, provide that gift to community members. However, if I do kind of get into that circumstance again, there will be maybe a time that I kind of defer it or say maybe I can fulfill this like the previous year, or even increase my capacity of having stock to maybe have and fulfill some last minute orders that come in, because sometimes that does happen. Companies do. I want to support Indigenous companies and local homegrown small businesses. So maybe that's a change that I need to make.
So how did you come up with that name?
Heart&Soul.
Yeah.
You know what? It was just something I've always kind of researched on different businesses or wanting to become an entrepreneur. And when I can't remember who it was, but I came across an individual that just kind of mentioned, like, if you're going to invest in a business, invest in something that captures your heart, provides goodness to other people, and you will see success in whatever you do because you are improving the lives of others. So when I sat back, I just told myself, like, I just wanted to pour my heart and soul into something that I was going to do, something so, it sounds, it's a candle. It's not, improving people's lives, but I really wanted to invest everything I had into it.
That's great. It's an amazing way of coming up with a name of the company, for sure. So if we wanted to order from you, what are the different ways of clients or customers getting your product?
Yeah. So we currently fulfill 3 stores consistently with all of our launches. So we fulfill 2 local stores in Thunder Bay and 1 in Red Rock Indian Band, which has been phenomenal as well. Most of our orders will come from social media or email communication. And then also we do launch when we are participating in craft fairs as well. So craft fairs are really associated around our kind of seasonal launch. Just maybe for a year, we've kind of really tried to participate in. Participating in any more kind of is a bit of a challenge, but the interest is definitely there, and our product purchasing has increased. So a website is our next step to fulfill consistent pouring and having consistent stock on a website.
So people can order online now?
Not currently, but okay. We are now there to have, there's definitely enough interest to have a website.
Yeah. And when people buy, they can buy using a credit card or debit or
Correct.
Just cash?
Any means. For the most part, we anybody who does order, it's check or e-transfer.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I think, a way most people definitely are going. But when we do have our craft fairs, we have our little Square device, our point of sale system.
Yeah. Okay. And most of your buyers are stores, or they're producing the greatest revenue at this point, or about equal to individuals just buying candles?
I would say individuals at our craft fairs, to be honest, and some of our orders. That's definitely for both of them. I would say our craft fairs mostly. Our customers definitely love when we pull up and there's our whole family get together and everybody can see a face to the name. I would definitely say our craft fairs are the largest revenue.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to thank you for coming in. It was a great interview. I'm glad to hear your company's doing well, but before we part, I want to hear about this award you won recently. Yes. Because you are being recognized for what you do, right? You're producing an excellent product and people are noticing it. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I'm very, very grateful to be the recipient of the Startup Business of the Year award with NADF. Came with great surprise, just definitely very humble in regards to, sitting in a room. Basically, my concept was sitting in an ocean full of large corporations, huge revenue generated from multiple companies. And there's a lot of other, startup companies that I can probably put on the table that were very deserving of the award. But to be almost like a little Nemo in an ocean, feeling like, wow, something that we are pouring our heart and soul into, and that people love it. I'm just definitely grateful for winning that award.
Yeah, well, you definitely put your heart and soul into those products, and people feel it for sure, and they are enjoying it for sure. So, with that, I'd like to thank you for participating in our podcast, and we wish you all the best. And we want to bring you back in about a year and see how you're doing then, and I'm sure great things are ahead for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this opportunity yet again.
Miigwech.
Miigwech.
That wraps up another episode of Prosperity Podcast, proudly brought to you by NEDF. I'm your host, Brian Davey, and I've just delved into the heartbeat of economic empowerment in Northern Ontario. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay connected, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment. Your support fuels momentum of Indigenous entrepreneurship. Remember, on the Prosperity Podcast, we believe that when we grow together, we all prosper. So let's continue this journey of growth and success. Until next time, I'm Brian Davey signing off. Stay inspired, stay innovative, and let's keep prospering together.